Sis and Tell, a whole lot of talk, about a whole lot of nothing. Amanda does stand up, Alison's on TV, and when they hop on the phone, it's the place you wanna be. Sis and Tell.
Hey, Allie.
Hey, man. What's going on?
I just have to say at the top of the hour, or the top of the half hour, that we need to say happy birthday to Bubba, our
Happy
brother
birthday.
Stuart.
My baby brother is 50. What does that make me?
Older than 50.
I thought about that at workout this morning. My baby Bubba is 50, which means I'm old.
Right.
Mhm.
My big brother at least makes me feel younger, because I am.
You are. Yeah. You're still a baby. You're still a baby. Well, speaking of our ages,
Yeah.
Levi, our 18-year-old, we've been going to. He hasn't left the nest yet. I'm not an empty nester yet, but we've been going to breakfast at least once a week, and he always comes with these really interesting, provocative questions for me, or he's very
Oh.
curious. So yesterday the prompt was, what revolutionary either event or invention do you think marks your generation? Because he says that, what will you look back on? He goes, because my generation will have something certainly different than yours. And I'm like, that's a great question.
The
So,
internet for me.
Well, we're both Gen X, right?
Right, but I'm in the younger part of Gen
Right,
X.
right.
So from a technology standpoint, 7 years is a vast amount of time.
It
Think about
is.
how much the phone's changed in
Yeah.
7 years.
Oh, yeah. Because I think Gen X is like 65 to 85.
Is it?
It's pretty wide. I was trying to look
No.
it up to make
Is
sure.
it?
It's
Okay.
it's pretty wide. Anyway,
Okay.
I'm 1970 and you're 1977 in terms of birth year.
Yeah.
So you're right. That's a huge discrepancy because the internet was really just coming of age when I'd talk about in grad school and beyond. I mean,
And
AOL.com, right? I was my first email address, alahama@aol.com. That was in 1993,
Mm-hmm.
possibly 4. I mean, that was late. And you were still in high school.
We got the internet at home when I was 15. I was in 10th grade. And I remember because I went to visit you in Chicago, and I made you take me to X Large, which was one of the Beastie Boys co-owned it. And I was like, what do you have that? I remember walking in and I'd be like, I'm from Alabama. We don't have anything like this. What do you have that's free? They went into the back of the store and pulled out all this stuff to give me, but I had their business card and it had a URL and an email address on it. And I remember trying to send them an email through Dad's email account and putting in the URL instead.
Oh, that's so funny.
And it bounced back and I was like, what did I do? And I realized I just had the wrong information, but I didn't know the difference. And it took forever. Like it was all these random like HTTP.
Right.
Now we would do that in a second. We
Right.
don't, we just do.
And the dial-up. They had to dial up in order to send that to you. I said, we talked a lot about that. And of course, I started going down memory lane and talking about how the technological innovations felt so slow when you look back. And when you also see what's happening today that we could have never imagined. We just it's like looking at the Jetsons and going, oh, that'll never happen. And now we're living like the Jetsons.
Seriously.
But for me, since I'm older, so one thing I talked about is, the end of the Cold War. That was probably significant politically and had an effect, I think. Someone I talked to, they said the Challenger explosion, that was, marked, I think, a grave time and just, I think it, when you talk about hope and rising above and that devastation, like we can picture, it's like our 9/11, we could picture where
Right,
we were
yeah.
when we heard about that. But
9/11
for me,
is also our 9/11.
right. 9/11 is our collective 9/11, not
Yeah.
to undermine that. But for me, I thought, and this is what really popped in my head. I thought something that really marked, I don't know if it's revolutionary for our decade, was MTV.
I had a
MTV.
feeling you were going to say that.
How did you know?
I don't know. It did. It really revolutionized television. It was niche. It was geared towards such a specific demographic. The 3 networks were geared towards everyone. Although definitely, like, I would say CBS has always skewed to a little older audience, but MTV changed the music industry. It changed TV with music videos. It changed, I'd say, middle America's access to music.
Yeah.
Right?
It was like a drug that I couldn't find because we didn't have cable. So we never had
Right.
cable when I lived at home. I didn't have cable till I was a junior in college.
That's
And
how Nickelodeon was for me.
right.
Because I was younger,
Right.
right? Everyone's like, I watched this on Nickelodeon. Or the Fraggle Rock, which was on HBO. I was like, oh my God, I need to see a Fraggle.
Well, of course, Stephanie Meyerson. The Meyersons had cable. They were early adopters, of course.
Yeah.
And so Stephanie knew every music video. Stephanie also had read like War and Peace when we were like 5 years old. So a voracious reader and television watcher in equal measure, which is why I adore her. And so she would watch MTV, I mean, nonstop. And she had memorized every music video and then she would be my access point. So she was like my dealer. Like she would tell me about them. So whenever I'd spend the night at her house, which was all the time, all I'd want to do is watch MTV because I needed to catch up because I didn't have access anywhere else. And I remember even seeing the Aha video from, that where he goes from real life to the animated and all that. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, gosh. Now I can't remember.
Kind of. Is it like shaky animation? And it's like them
no.
and then...
Oh, sorry. I know. I was going to look it up, but now I figured it out. Take on Me by Aha.
Take on me.
Take on me. I might have to edit that part out. I'm just kidding. Yes. So Take on Me by Aha. And it went from real life into like comic book life. And it was just, it brought to life literally this surreal moment for everyone where we could, the intersection of music, which was important, and fantasy world. And I don't think any other station had really done it in that way that was really impactful and really provocative. It was a disruptor in its day, for sure.
Yeah. Well, speaking of your youngest, I have a ton of Oscar stories. And I know he's the youngest by like 1 minute, but it counts. So we took him to a play. Aaron and I did. The play was, I don't want to call it interactive, but we had no idea what we were getting into. And Oscar and I were sitting in literally the third row, and Aaron's right behind us. So you can see, it's at the Alliance Theater. It's a pretty small theater, but we're so close up. You can see all the actors. You can see all their expressions, which I love. You can make eye contact with them, which doesn't always happen. So about 5 minutes in, we realized that there are audience members who are actually actors. So people are randomly standing up and talking, right? They also have audience members seated on stage in like tiers. So we're all watching from different angles. And then at some point, some of those audience members on stage are also actors. And about 20 minutes in, and 90-minute play, no intermission, I really had to pee.
I knew that was coming. The same way you knew I was going to say MTV, I knew you were going to say I really had to pee.
And I went to in case you're wondering, I did go to the bathroom beforehand.
Were you drinking water during the performance?
No, I've been chugging Crystal Light. Okay.
Oh, gosh.
I have a Crystal Light. I have an aspartame problem.
That'll do it.
But I really tried to, I stopped drinking like an hour and a half before the play. I kept on trying to empty. Aspartame is like a slow, I don't know what it is, but.
Is it a diuretic? I mean, is that what causes it? Okay.
Oh my God. And I was like, I was in so much pain. I could not hold it anymore. And at a certain point, I turn around to Aaron and I whisper, I really have to pee. And he's like, so go. But the actors kept on popping up like seated next to us or also like on the stairs leading to the exit.
And someone might think you're an actor.
Exactly. This was my dilemma. And literally Oscar was the youngest person except for this little girl who was up on stage sitting in the audience who ended up being an actress. So everyone kept on staring at us like Oscar was going to pop up and have a part in the play, which he was very excited about, by the way.
He said, maybe I just will.
So at a certain point, I whispered to Oscar, I go, when the lights go dark, I'm going to run out. Because I also didn't want him to all of a sudden turn and I'm not there.
Right.
So I run out. All is free and clear. I run to the bathroom. I try to get back in.
Oh, no.
And I am locked out.
Oh,
and
no.
the lobby is like a ghost town. And I'm like, oh, damn. And I'm like, oh, and I finally see this like really young security guy. And I go, I'm so sorry. I couldn't hold it anymore. I had to go pee and I'm locked out. Am I locked out forever? How can I get back in? He goes, I'll just beep you in. He didn't care. So he gets out his badge. He beeps me in. And as I'm like going down the like ramp.
So wait, you literally had to have security clearance to get back into the theater?
Yeah.
That makes no sense. Do they think no one has to pee in 90 minutes?
I don't know.
I mean, who do they think we are,
know.
people?
I know.
I don't have the bladder of a
No.
20-year-old anymore.
And they sell us drinks.
Right.
Okay. Also, I was drinking a ranch water during this.
Okay, there we go. Now it's coming out. Thank you for coming really clean. Yes.
So, oh my gosh. So
he beeps you in.
So he beeps me in. I start walking down this ramp, and all of
the
a sudden,
spotlight hits you. Please
and then all
tell
of a
me.
sudden, no, we're not. I'm not in the theater yet. It's like there in the exterior of the theater. There's this like ramp you go to, and then there's another door. And as I'm walking, two people come out with walkie-talkies and like headsets, and they're like, "We're going to need you to wait. We've got actors who are getting ready to come." And I can hear on the other side of the door, people are on stage having some sort of fight. And I hear from the side people having a fight. Like it's part of the show. Like they're having like a pre-fight or something. So then I'm like this. I'm pressed against the wall. And I don't want to make eye contact because I'm so embarrassed. Like I don't want to have ruined the play. So they run out. They run through the door, and I looked at the woman with the headset and I said, I am relying on you to let me know when it's safe to go in. And then I look at her again and I say, and I really had to pee. I'm so sorry. I was so embarrassed. And she's like, it's safe to go in. So luckily I opened the door slowly because when I looked, there's literally an actor on the stairs leading to my seat who is 4 feet away from me. And I like peek my head in and these people look at me and I'm like, what?
Oh, no.
And I close it. I go, yeah, she's still out there. Really, ma'am, I'm relying on you to let me know when it's safe. And she's like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, okay. And then she's like, okay, it's safe now.
And was it this time?
This time it was safe. But everyone was looking at me like I was getting ready to say something.
Here she comes.
Which, I like it when I'm on stage and I got a microphone in my hand, but not when I'm an audience member. I'm like, stop looking at me, please. This is embarrassing.
What do you think they would have done if you had just broken into some off-script monologue?
Well, that did happen.
What do you
Funny
mean?
that you should say so.
What?
Because there's certain people, when that happens, when random people start engaging with someone on stage who don't realize they're actors.
Wait. There was a person in the audience.
Yeah.
A non-actor who started engaging with someone on stage who was an actor.
Yeah.
Out loud.
Yes.
For everyone to hear.
Yeah.
How did that go?
They ignored them.
I mean, were they heckling them? I don't understand.
Well,
in the middle of the play?
So there's a character it was abstract, right? There's a character who was like supposed to be deaf. Okay? And someone in the audience was
deaf or deaf?
Death, like I'm here to murder, like
okay,
I'm here
like
to take your life away.
Okay,
yes, literally with the sickle.
Okay.
And so someone in the audience, but the guy's also like dressed like an accountant. Death is,
yeah.
It was funny.
Right.
So
you know why he was dressed an accountant?
Because that's a job that'll kill you. I don't know.
Because they say that's this thing. There's only 2 things that are certain: death and taxes.
Oh,
there you go. A little
that's
subtlety
nice.
for you. There
that's
you go.
nice, Allie.
Oh, thanks.
So someone in the audience who was an actor was like, how do we know you're really deaf? You're really deaf. Now I'm saying, they're like, the actor was like, how do we know you're really deaf? And then someone else who's also an actor pops up and goes, yeah, how are you going to prove that? And then the guy sitting in front of me goes, yeah, why don't you kill someone? Okay. And for a second I was like, and it ended up that everyone who was an actor in the audience, they all had masks on, and I was pointing it out to Oscar. I go, do you notice that everyone who is sitting in the audience who ends up being an actor, they're all the people who are wearing masks, and the guy in front of us was wearing a mask. So I was like, oh, he's an actor.
Oh,
and then I realized like 30 seconds later, oh,
nope, not an actor. will say they're kind of asking for it if they have
They
this
are.
abstract, sort of loosey-goosey way of doing it. Yeah.
And Oscar was also like, "Can I pipe in?" And I was like, "No, please
Right,
don't."
no, please.
Please. And Oscar likes to pipe in. He is a talker. And actually, there was an incident with his talking 2 nights ago. I went to go check on him and all the kids to make sure they're still breathing like a mother does.
You
And
still
it was
do
like,
that? Oh, gosh.
yeah, it was like 11 p.m. at night, and he had already fallen asleep. And I just walk in. His door was open. I walk in. He pops up out of bed and goes, "Can Murray and I just please do the Cardi B thing?" And I go, it was so specific. I was like thinking in my head, what's the
Cardi B thing?
What's
right.
the Cardi B thing? And their bar and bat mitzvah party's coming up, and we've been talking about music. And so I go, "What Cardi B thing?" He goes, "The Cardi B thing. Can we just do it, please? Murray and I want to do the Cardi B thing." And I go, "Are you talking in your sleep?"
Which you're not supposed to say to someone
know,
who is
and
talking in their sleep.
He was so confused. And he goes, "Mom, the Cardi B thing." And I'm like, "All right." And then he just laid back down.
It's hard to distinguish. It's really hard. I've told you Abe was a sleepwalker and sleep talker.
Wow.
Did I tell you about what happened to him in Poland? Okay.
I don't think so.
So this is the last, at least documented time of him sleepwalking. He also sleep talks. Alan sleep talks too, but I could never understand him, which is really frustrating.
That is frustrating.
And then
'cause
sometimes
it's hilarious.
It is so funny. And
it's so fun.
Yeah. And Abe, I mean, like when he was in high school, a few times I found him like downstairs ready for school eating, about to eat cereal, and it's 3 a.m. So I just kind of gently have to walk him back. But so he is on his summer trip to Israel with Camp Ramah, right? And he does a week in Poland beforehand. So he's staying at this hotel. He's rooming with 3 other guys. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, he wakes up with a start. He wakes up because the start was the hotel room door slamming shut. And he looks down, and he is on the other side of it. He had slept walk. Okay, so now it's like 2 a.m.
Oh.
He's in his boxers. He doesn't have on his glasses, obviously. And anybody knows Abe,
no.
he is, I mean, he's almost
So
legally blind without
blind.
his glasses or his contacts. So he is without glasses or contacts in his underwear on the other side of the store in a hallway in the middle of Poland, right? And he's also like 17 years old at the time. So he looks at it, he's like, "Oh my gosh." And he realizes what he's done. He has obviously sleptwalked there. So he starts gently knocking on the door. Nobody comes. He keeps knocking. Now he's knocking louder and louder. His roommates are so dead asleep. Not one of them.
Those doors also,
They're
hotel
pretty
doors,
heavy. Yeah.
they're pretty heavy and
They're
solid.
thick. Yeah. Well, they're not coming. They are not coming to his rescue. So now he has 2 options, literally. He can either sleep outside the door, or he can walk down to the lobby and explain what's
underwear.
happened, which he also has no ID. You know what happens, when you're like, "I lock myself out," they're like, "Well, can we see your ID?" Which he has.
But he's in his underwear.
He's in his underwear, and he's a kid.
Yeah.
So luckily, the Polish receptionist was very kind and understanding.
Oh,
and
so
let him. He did. He didn't have a choice. It was like 2 a.m. He thinks he didn't have a watch on, so they let him back in.
Thank God they spoke English. Did he have to say, "I sleepwalk and I slept walk"?
I don't know what.
Did he explain it? Like that
I
is.
don't know if he actually. I mean, I don't know how else he could have explained the fact that he's locked out of his room. I think he said, right, "I was sleepwalking and I just woke up and I have no key or glasses," or he must have looked credible.
Oh my God, they must have thought.
And they saw him come off the elevator. It's not like he walked off the street. Can you imagine that? Like, "Sir, you're gonna have to leave the hotel. You're gonna have to go."
So speaking of walking off the street in your underwear,
really,
boy, do I have a story to tell you about my husband.
Oh gosh.
Oh my God, Alison, you're gonna die. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get through this story.
I can't believe I had the perfect segue for this story.
I can't believe it either. Oh my God. So you know how sometimes you're like, life is like a Seinfeld episode, but usually we're like Elaine.
Right.
In this moment, my husband is Kramer. Yep.
Kramer. Yeah.
Kramer all the way. So Aaron has been obsessed with this place right near his office called Float, and they have those sensory deprivation tanks.
What is
And
that?
it is like
Where you literally float?
you float. Yeah.
I've heard of these.
Right. There's rooms, and then there's also pods.
Is it like
and
a capsule? I feel like
yes,
it's very.
but the capsule.
Yeah, no.
But the room is like, it's like a big bathtub, and they
Okay.
put a ton of, I guess, Epsom salts in there, and you float,
Okay.
right? And they turn, and all the lights are off, and it's supposed to be this Zen moment. And he's been talking about going forever. So finally he passes this place all the time. So finally he decides to go check it out.
Okay.
So they give him a bathrobe. They give him these ear plugs, right? Because you don't want the water in your ears. He says to me, I've never seen earplugs like these before. They had like these 3 prongs on them, and they were stiff. They weren't like the squishy ones you'd use at a concert. And he's in this sensory deprivation tank room, right? Checking out these earplugs. He's in his bathrobe. He puts one of the earplugs in, and he can't figure out how to do it. He feels like it's not working. So he steps out into the lobby and says to the woman, can you help me with these earplugs? I feel like they're not fitting. Am I doing it right? So instead of her showing him how to do it, she pokes the ear plug into his ear.
Oh, no.
So far that it hits his eardrum.
Oh, gosh.
And he can't get it out. And
gosh.
And he starts panicking. And he's like, get it out of my ear. It hurts. You got to get it out. And he has no nails, and she has no nails. And he's like, you need tweezers. Get the tweezers. Or they're tweezers. She's like, I don't have tweezers. So his first instinct is to run out of the float and try and find a store nearby.
That has tweezers?
So he runs out in just a bathrobe onto the streets of Decatur.
And a bathing suit.
No. I mean, he's like maybe wearing boxers underneath, but to the world, he is just wearing a bathrobe. They don't know what he has on underneath. So luckily, on the same block, there's a bike store, and he runs in there in his bathrobe, and he's like, he's panicking, and he's like, she shoved this thing in my ear, and she can't get it out. We don't have tweezers.
Did they have tweezers?
No, but they had needle nose pliers.
Oh, even better. And the guy did it for him?
Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing.
So they got it out, and he walked. And he walks back in to float, and the woman goes, so you probably don't want to do this anymore? And he's like, no, I'll still do it.
Oh, my gosh.
And I know. And he did it for 20 minutes. He couldn't figure out how to turn the light off. He said it was so boring. And I'm like,
why were they not more instrumental or helpful? That doesn't make any sense.
But he got, he finished after 20 minutes. It's supposed to be an hour. He put his clothes back on. He walked back into the bike shop and was like, all right, thank you so much. It's probably the craziest thing that'll happen to you. They're like, yep, pretty much.
Gosh, that is hysterical.
Isn't that funny?
Good for them.
Oh,
well,
my God.
Speaking of holding your ear in a bike shop.
Oh, nuh-uh. You
Yeah.
do not have a story.
So Alan, used to be a pretty devout cyclist. And one morning, when the boys were little, he came in and he runs into the bedroom and he is freaking out. Now, Alan does not freak out, really, ever. So whenever he is panicked or worried, I am panicked and worried. He runs in and he is freaking out and he is holding his ear and he's kind of hitting it like really fast, going, oh my gosh, and I can't understand what he's saying. I was like, what is wrong? He goes, oh my God, and he is just frenetic. Finally, I get out of him and he's like, he was going down, literally, he'd probably been biking for 40 miles. He gets into our driveway, and as he's pulling the bike into the garage, a bug flies into his ear.
Oh,
Now think about, this has got to be like sort of like an Evel Knievel type
Right?
of bug. Like the trajectory this bug has to have that perfectly times with his ear and the canal. And it is still alive and in his ear. And
Yeah.
it is fluttering. And I can only imagine, he said it was like it was in his brain. It was making him nuts. So
That's
I
awful.
very calmly, I said, sit down. I made him sit down in my bathroom. I went and I immediately grabbed the isopropyl alcohol. I took a little capful. I told him, I said, tilt your head. I poured it in and killed the bug. And literally like 2 seconds later, he's like, thank you. I mean, like I had saved his life. And then he's like, I mean, now it's like 7 a.m. and
The
he's
bug
got,
was panicking. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Everybody's
the bug's like, oh my God, I'm claustrophobic. This is the worst place for me ever.
dead
What
end,
is
dead
happening?
end. I can't back
Oh,
up.
I need a drink to get through this. Thank you so much. Oh, this is too much. What is that, 180 proof?
The bug was either dead or really drunk. Either way, he stopped doing the tango in his ear. And then Alan's like, what should I do? And I was like, call Peter. So like one of our dearest friends is an ENT. It's Saturday morning. It's like 7 o'clock. He's like, really? Do you think I should call him now? I go, I think you should call him immediately.
Yes. Oh
You
my
have a
God.
bug in your ear.
If you're going to call in a favor from any doctor friend, it's going to be this moment.
Yeah, this is it. This is what we do. So he calls Peter and then he drives over there. And to this day, Kathleen, who's also a doctor, she's a pediatrician. She goes, she has 3 boys the same age as ours, basically. She said, that was like one of the greatest days for my boys. Like the best, the best Saturday morning activity when your boys are up at the crack of dawn. Remember those days? She goes, and Mr. Allen comes in the driveway and has a bug in his ear. And Dad is going to fix it, right? And so meanwhile, apparently if you've been through any sort of residency program, getting stuff out of people's ears is pretty
Basic.
commonplace, right?
But
And not
usually
just
a toddler, right?
well, no, but like, there's some places where people live and there are roaches and roaches get in their ears. Like there's crazy stuff that gets into people's
Oh,
ears.
stop. Please stop.
Yeah, it's
Please
disgusting.
don't. Please stop.
This was not a roach. This was a moth. And when Peter pulled this out of his ear, I'm telling you, it was like a few centimeters long. It was not a small little bug.
I don't even know how. That is really an
He also
evil
had to pull it
Knievel.
out. It was very important that he pulled it out with one fell swoop and didn't leave any wings or
Remnants.
Oh,
yes.
gosh, because that
Oh.
could be really bad. And so he did that.
That's
So
worse.
Alan
What's
was
worse than-
saved.
yeah.
Alan was saved. Peter to the rescue, and Peter's boys were entertained. It was the trifecta of Saturday morning entertainment. So.
Oh my God. It's like that thing. What's worse than finding a worm in your apple? Finding half a worm.
Oh.
Like you don't want to pull out half of a moth from your ear.
That's funny.
Oh my
Half
God.
of a worm. That's gross.
That is just, that's awful. So speaking of awful. So, we've got 2 dogs. Milo goes to the groomer because it's like too much. It's like me cutting my own hair. Like it's not going to happen. It's too complicated.
It's you cutting your own hair times 1,000 because Milo is a Great Pyrenees.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of hair.
He's a 100-pound dog with long hair. So it's a lot. So first thing in the morning, I put him in the car and I take him to the groomers. And as I'm getting out, I notice the car is wet. And I think he drools. He drools.
Excessively.
Except sometimes. And we had passed a neighbor with a dog and I thought he got excited. And I go back into the car after I drop him off and realize it's not drool. He had peed all over the car, all like every single middle. We're in a minivan, so that's that whole middle. It's luckily
disgusting.
the seats are leather. So, and I have these like antibacterial wipes, like a huge container of them, not like the little ones that come in the envelope, but like a big barrel of them. So I'm immediately able to start cleaning it up. And I had paper towels. So I get home and I do a good job of cleaning it up. But I don't know what it is about dog pee in a car on a hot Atlanta day. That is a smell I will never get out of my nostrils. And I ended up finding this fantastic car detailer. And when I say he took apart the minivan,
Really?
and he canceled or he pushed back all of his appointments when I told him dog pee. He was like, it was like an emergency situation.
All of a sudden he hits the red button. We got some Great Pyrenees.
We got to move all.
Yeah, we got to move this. Right,
And I
emergency.
I had to show him the dog. I didn't take him to pee. My mistake. He did his morning pee in the car. The 100-pound dog peeing in your car.
Oh my gosh. So how does your minivan smell now?
It's like a brand new car.
And I will say, not that I wish for Milo to pee in your car, but if it took Milo pee to get you to detail that car, then God bless Milo.
It was a tipping point.
His job is done.
Let's just say it was a tipping point. Well, thanks for listening to the latest Sis Tell podcast. Share us with your friends, share us with your family, share us with your foes.
As always, this has been Amanda and Alison with a whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. We'll catch you next time.